Hi everyone, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. We are live. Well, I am live. And here we are. We are live today we're going to talk about expectations. And that's expectations on romantic relationships. Hi, Monica. Hi, Jennifer. Love you, ladies. Thank you for joining. I am going to invite Roula. There. And soon she will be live with us. Hi, Roula.
Hi, good morning, or good morning for me.
Yeah, good morning for you. Good
Yeah,
evening here. It's quite dark here.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's evening for you, huh, in the UK?
Yes, gets very dark very quick.
Yeah,
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing better, thank you. I'm still getting over the COVID, but I'm much better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. You look good. So,
Thank
yes, I'm
you.
so glad to hear that.
Yeah, I'm feeling way better. Just just it's like the end of it. So, but yeah, I'm good.
Oh,
Thank
good, good. Very, very good. That's so good to hear.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so shall we start, Rula?
Yeah, if I don't know, normally in lives, people introduce the guests, so I'm not sure what's your plans or what,
Oh,
how you do things, because I've been on lives and they do things differently, so I'm not sure.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry because yes, you're right. People have to introduce themselves. Do you want to introduce yourself?
It's up to you if you don't want, if you don't have anything planned, then maybe I'll introduce myself. I'm not sure. How do you want to do things?
Oh, I didn't prepare anything. I'm so sorry, Rula. I didn't prepare. But yeah, I would like maybe you can introduce yourself to our audience.
Yeah, I was expecting a call from you or a message to tell me kind of how things are going to be. But since you didn't prepare, then yeah, I'll go ahead and introduce myself, I guess. It's a little different, but
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Rula and I, this was prepared. This was planned. So everyone watching, sorry, tell us how did that feel? How did that argument feel between me and Rula?
this was a mini demo of probably not properly communicating ahead of time and meeting expectations. So we just wanted to briefly do a small demo of when you have certain expectations in doing things and you don't communicate it, then everybody's in their own world as to what is expected, and then you get into arguments or conflicts or so this is just a mini demo.
Yes, yes. And yeah, did that feel like you were watching husband and wife arguing? But that's just a mini thing we wanted to show exactly what Rula said, expectation. Like one person is expecting the other person to provide something, and the other person is just absolutely like, oh, I didn't know I had to do that. And yes, so yeah, we have a lot of people joining us, Rula. So we've got Whale, we've got Annalise. Hi, everyone.
Hello. Thank you so much for watching this. Appreciate your support.
Yes, yes. So, Rula, what do you think? Well, let me introduce you. So, Rula is a relationship coach, and she has been an inspiration for me
Oh,
because she's one of the early Jay Shetty coaches who graduated, and I have learned so much from her, just watching her presence in the webinars, in the lessons. And yes, since then, I've always loved her presence. And that's how we connected. And that's how I was inspired to be a relationship coach as well. And here we are, two relationship coaches.
Wow, I'm so honored. Thank you so much for your sweet, kind words. Wow, like I'm overwhelmed with your kindness. This is so, I'm truly honored. Thank you so much for saying that. It's a pleasure meeting you. I was so excited when I met you, and I knew you're a relationship coach as well, because I love your energy, and I love the way you present things as well. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. No, I meant every word. And the first time had an interaction or connection with you, that's when I felt like I was meeting a celebrity. And I said that as well. So, yeah, let's start our live. What is your definition of expectation? What do you understand by expectation, especially in a marital relationship or romantic relationship?
Yeah. To me, expectations is really like how we grew up. I think it's in like the baggage we carry from like our childhood, from our past. How our society, our environment, our parents, how they did things, or it could be what we watched on TV and saw. It's like a dream of in our dream, or our hopes or aspirations of what marriage should look like, in a romantic relationship. So I think it goes back to what we've been taught, or the map that we have in our mind. And every one of us has our own expectations and our own desires, or how we want the outcome of our relationship to be like. So it's really different for everybody.
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's very, yeah, that's in a simple term. That's beautiful how you said it. Yes, absolutely agree with how you've said, because I believe in the same, where any expectation, whether it's marital or anyone, it's the strong belief system we have, isn't it?
Yes.
And then we automatically want the other person to act or behave exactly according to what we believe.
Yep.
And yeah, or exactly what our values are. We're living those values, and we think that that person should be that. How is that person not what I think he or she should be?
Yeah. And it's not sometimes we don't even know our values. It's not like even it's just whatever you think it should be that way. Like you've learned it that way, and you're just like, oh, it's supposed to be that way. My parents did it that way, or society, or my community, this is how we behave, or this is what we're supposed to do. These are the expectations that we hold, and sometimes we don't even know. We're just following through, going, obliging with what everybody wants us to do, and where we don't even notice our values. We don't even know.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. And a lot of times, as you said, we've just picked it up, and especially in romantic relationships, I think the media or the movies that play a big part as well, isn't it? That it needs to be all rainbows and roses, and it should be like magical all the time. And if it's not magical, something's missing here. Oh, he's not the same. Oh, she's not the same.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it's a lot. We're a lot in our heads, in our dreams, and then when reality hits, and they're not doing exactly what we want, they're not behaving exactly according to our expectations, then we're like, there's something wrong. Did I make a mistake? Did I pick the wrong person? Because we're all focused on ourselves and our needs, and we forget that the other person exists and that they have their own needs, their own expectations. And yeah, and then we go through the loop of, oh my God, you know, he's not doing my way, she's not doing it my way, what's going on? And then, you know, it gets into a lot of
Yeah.
conflicts.
Yeah. Yeah. I see it this way, and correct me if I'm wrong, or give me your opinion on this as well. Just like we have our own, we come with our own baggage. You said baggage, isn't it? Our own traumas. Everyone has their own traumas. We kind of ignore or forget that the other person comes with their set of baggage, their set of traumas, their values, what they learned, their conditioning, what they learned from their parents, from their society, from the people around them. And we came with ours, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And what we try to do is we try to dump all that on the other person, but we don't want them to dump theirs on us. And we're like, oh, that's too much. But I want you to be exactly how I want you to be. And when they try, we're like, no, 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 no. This is me. You can't try to change me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
And
sometimes
how
we
do you
don't,
see it?
yeah, sometimes we don't understand ourselves, what's going on, but we expect them to understand us, read our mind, know exactly what we're feeling. And, you know, sometimes we don't even know ourselves.
Yes. Yes. I like the word that you said, read our minds. And I think most of us try to do that. We just want the other person to read between the lines. And sometimes, and it's funny, I don't know if this happens with you, but with me, it's like I would do things just so that person understands. So I'll be like rattling the dishes, or maybe the banging the spoon, like doing the stuff like, or banging the doors or something, just so that person is reading between the lines, like, oh, and then it's like, okay, oh, she's annoyed. Why is she annoyed? I'm not telling him why I'm annoyed. I just want him to notice and find out why am I annoyed.
Yeah, trying to get his attention. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and a lot of times, again, we're doing it subconsciously because as kids, we did that to get our parents' attention. We acted up, or we cried, or we, you know, we shouted, and that's where our parents got our attention, and they did what we wanted to do. So we carry it into our adulthood.
Ah, you've gone silent.
I think I got a call. So yeah, so I said, yeah, sometimes we carry that from childhood. We behave in certain ways to get to be heard and seen, and then you know, we expect them to notice, and you know, they're supposed to read our mind and know that I'm upset. Instead of using our words or communicating it like an adult, we use these childhood behaviors, and we carry it over to our adulthood.
Yes, wow. You explained that so beautifully, and I love that. Because yes, now I see, because with children as well, they try to get attention, don't they? And sometimes instead, if we don't give them positive attention, as in speak to them, talk to them, so they learn how to communicate, we give them negative attention. And that's how, as children, we learn that, oh, by giving negative attention, or trying to get attention in a negative way, we still get attention, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we do all these things, banging the door and, you know, huff and puff and walk away and
Yeah.
oh, wow. And yes, and the positive attention would be communicating.
Mm-hmm. And
Wow.
communicating effectively, because there is communication is huge in relationships. And we're not taught how to communicate effectively. And the first part of communicating effectively is listening. It's not even like speaking or doing, it's really listening to what the other person is, being observant and listening and being aware of the other person and trying to understand what is going on in their world, in their mind, why they're behaving a certain way. So it takes a lot of patience and controlling the ego, because we're very egocentric as human beings. We're very focused on ourselves and what we want, what we need. But we forget about the other person, or, there's other people that have needs and wants, and we're very focused on ourselves. We're very
Yeah.
egocentric humans. So, it takes for us to think of like, how do I want to show up? What is the other person? It's not just what I want, what I need, but also what does the other person want and need, and why, what's going on in their world.
Yeah, I love that. Wow, you said that in such a nice way, because yes, there are needs. We have our needs as well. But then exactly the same, they have their needs. And we don't want to look at that because we are so focused in ourselves. Like, I want this. Why did this not happen this way? I am feeling sad. I am feeling jealous. I am feeling, it's all about I.
Me,
But I
myself, and
love
I.
that. Yes. Maybe pausing for a bit when we are feeling the I's, and then thinking, oh, how is that person feeling right now? And you said the word patience. I love that, because that's beautiful in a relationship, having patience. Because you need to practice that patience with yourself first, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Then only you can give the patience to other people in your life. If you don't have patience with yourself and you're very impatient, and that comes to expectations with yourself. Like, I expect so much from me. And we start expecting from others.
Yeah, it's really about finding that balance between, what we want, what the other want. It's that give and take. And it's not like, the 50-50 kind of. It's more like I may be giving 80 at times, and then maybe I'm, getting 80 at times. Depending on the situation, it's finding that balance. It's there's it's a lot of dynamic, because you have to practice your emotional intelligence. You have to find, be kind of vigilant and look at it from like a bird's eye view perspective, kind of looking in on the situation, and not very so you zoom in and out. You kind of zoom into the situation, but also zooming out to kind of assess what's going on, and then
Mm.
acting accordingly, because sometimes you need to back off and sometimes you need to step in. It's finding
Yeah.
that balance.
Yes. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I will just acknowledge some of our viewers. And we have Marietta. Hi, Marietta. There is Valkyrie.
Oh, hello, Annette.
Professor Dhaval Shab. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Jennifer is saying that I can relate. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. Guys, let us know, does it make sense what we're talking about? Or is it just like, what's going on here? Let us know. Are we making any sense? Yeah, so Rula, what do you think when it comes to, like, should we have expectations in relationships or not? Or it's not that simple?
No, absolutely. I think we should have expectations, and we should have, we should. I think first we have to really learn about ourselves, know who we are. It's because sometimes we set certain expectations of others, but we don't look within and try to understand who we are. Our character, uh, our beliefs, a lot of things, like why do I set the expectations? Why am I setting the expectations? What is the outcome that I want, and why? And I think it's having that, self-reflection, and going in to understand yourself, to understand your personality, to understand, like, what is it I want from the expectations? Like, who am I? Am I an introvert? Am I an extrovert? Like, am I somebody that enjoy, company and people, and am I, just knowing who you are first. And then,
Yeah.
when when you're setting these expectations, and you should have expectations of certain things, and but then also being flexible, not rigid, and there are, some certain things that they're non-negotiable. You're like, this is what I want, and this is how I want my future to be like. But then
Mm.
also being realistic, that, with setting these expectations, and everybody is different. There is no set of rules. It's really trying to understand yourself, being honest with yourself, because sometimes we're not, and sometimes we don't even know. So having that communication, to learn, to read, to get the knowledge, to understand yourself, and then once you understand yourself, well, at least you try. We're constantly working on ourselves. So the more you learn about yourself, the more you're like, oh, I need to learn more, or, so really looking in. And then, yes, there are certain expectations that I think it's valid, and people should have an expectations. But again, I think it's flexibility, is understanding these expectations and working with them, you know.
Mm.
Because we grow, we
Yeah.
change too. I might have certain expectations at some point, but then I'm learning, I'm growing, and then, my expectation change. So
True.
being flexible with that and open-minded.
Yes. Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Very similar view. I think we should have expectations. Um, and a lot of times, we say let go of expectations as well.
Hmm.
So it's that balance, when to have expectations and when to let go as well. So you said a word, you said realistic. And that's what I think. The expectations need to be realistic. And maybe some examples of realistic expectation would be respect in a relationship, affection, expectation of time and energy, maybe expectation of trust.
Hmm.
But then these realistic expectations needs to be communicated.
Hmm. And also, what we're going back when you said emotional, everybody's different. So it's really knowing yourself, because some people need more emotions, emotional attention, like, with the five languages, the five love languages, is understanding what's your love language, understanding what your expectations about that. Because some people don't need as much affection as others. And I always, I like to make the example of the plants or flowers. Some of them require daily watering and attention, and some of them you only need to water once a week, once a month. And knowing that about yourself and your needs and your wants, and working towards that, and trying to, because a lot of people don't prepare for marriage. They like someone, they're physically attracted, and they're just, and it's like really the biggest decision we make is commitment to be with somebody else, because it's, so it's really, you need to plan, like, put a lot of time and effort in knowing who you are, and knowing the other person, and working together to see how you can work together, and commit. And what does commitment mean to the other person? A lot of people, they commit and they're like, I'm married, but they don't want to make any effort into working on the marriage. Like, I'm committing, I'm providing financially, but that's my commitment. I'm staying married to you, but I don't want to spend time with you. I'm at work all the time. I don't want to pay attention to the kids. We don't communicate that. Like, who's financially responsible, who's working, who's not going to work, who's going to, is this person lifestyle, they like to go out. So when you first meet someone, you enjoy the company, you go out, you have a good time, but is this long-term, realistically for you? Is that the kind of life you want to lead going forward? There's a lot. It's a lot. And sometimes we rush into it just because we're physically attracted, but we don't sit down and really have these serious conversations about what are my expectations in going forward? How do I want my life to be like? And again, I'm not saying it's set in stone, because we are growing, we are evolving as we're growing, but then feeling safe enough to have those communication, that I'm safe if things changed, if we, that I'm able to feel safe to communicate to the other person, and I feel heard, seen, and validated with my feelings, that I don't feel like I'm going to be criticized if I changed, or if I have like a new interest, that I am supported, that I feel safe, that I'm with someone that cares about my needs and wants, and willing to meet me halfway.
Yes, yes. That's beautiful. Yes, because as you said, we constantly changing, we constantly evolving. So what that means is that we have to constantly communicate. Because if we have this gap and we have, the communication gap, we're not communicating. We may be just passing by each other. One person comes in from work, another person gets out, and the other person's busy with the kids, whereas the other person is busy just working. If there's no communication, that's when there's a gap, and that's when we don't know that other person has already grown. That person has had so many experiences at work, with children, and everyone's constantly growing, growing, growing. But we're still expecting, oh, but you were not like that when I married you. Yes, I wasn't, but now I've changed, I've grown, and things are different. If we were constantly communicating, you would have known why I've changed, like what's changed in me. And it takes that conscious effort to see the change in the other person, isn't it?
Yeah, and what's coming up for me when you're talking, it's not just communicating, the person isn't present. So if I'm growing, and I'm, even without me saying a word, my energy must have changed. Something must have changed. So if the person didn't notice that, that means they weren't present in my life. Somehow they lived without even noticing I'm existing, or I'm changing and evolving. So it's that, it's not necessarily like communicating in words as much as being present with the other person and noticing what's going on with that person, and again, being present and making the time to be there for one another and to communicate that. So if there's a change, to sit down and say, look, I'm noticing things are different. Do you want to talk about it? How can I support you? What's going on? And having that, so communication, it's not just verbal. It could be even, communication in energy, in body language, and,
Yes.
and just being present to notice that.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, because the energy can exchange of energy can say a lot, isn't it? So, wow, yes. What, according to you, Roula, would be unrealistic expectations? And when I say unrealistic, that could mainly be the cause of argument, of expectation where, like what we did the demo earlier, where it was unrealistic and the other person's like, well, what do you want me to do then?
Mm-hmm.
What could be some of the examples?
I guess the unrealistic is things are not going to change. That things are going to be the same, you know, for the rest of your life. It's not. There's a constant change, constant growth, constant. So I think just being open and flexible that it's okay for things to change. It's like, don't be alarmed if things change, because change is
Mm,
constant. Like that's what's you have to be aware of that, you know, just to be curious, I think, and or sometimes people, they're so hung up on like commitment. For example, I think that sometimes it's not realistic is to say, like, even when they're not happy, things are not working out, they just, you know, committed and they're miserable and they're not doing the work, but they're staying anyway because they made a commitment to stay. And I think that's not realistic. You know, it's if things are really bad and you feel like you're being mentally abused or physically abused, you need to evaluate things and see
yeah,
how, like, it's not the end of the world. You know, if things
yes,
don't work out, if you made, you know, the wrong decisions, it's okay. There's other doors, there's other, life will move on. It's not, you know, because I work with a lot of people that they're miserable. They just don't want it to end. They're miserable in the marriage and they don't want it to end because they don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, you know, with or without. So they're stuck. But,
yeah,
and I know it's hard, but it's okay. Things will, you know, things don't have to stay the same.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I was reflecting on some of the unrealistic expectations and things like, and these are simple things, but I remember like I was like that until I shifted and changed. And unrealistic would be maybe expecting my husband to be friends with my friends. Or unexpected, another unexpected, unrealistic expectation would be something where I was expecting him, because I was a people pleaser, I expected him to be a people pleaser. He had his priorities, but I would just expect him, if there was a family dinner, I would just expect him to come with me and be there regardless. And I did not understand why this person sometimes would say no. To me, it's like, no is not an answer. That's family. You have to come. If you don't come, you're a bad person. But that's my belief. I have believed that. I have been a people pleaser. Not until when I started seeing all this in me and I thought, oh my God, that's me. And I'm poor thing. I'm expecting him to be me. There can't be another me. That's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, so he was kind
You
of
need
an
to balance
extension
each
of
other
you.
out.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he had to do things the way you're. Yeah, yeah, I get that. A lot of
Yeah.
people go through that where, you know, they have to do everything together. They have to be the same person, and they're not. They're different. You're two different people, and you have to
Or
honor each other's. Yeah.
and sometimes it's just something laughable. Some people like to color match. If you're not color matching, there's going to be an argument as well, because I expect you to wear. Rula, why did you not wear red? I'm wearing red.
Mm-hmm.
So that's unrealistic, because, you know, things like that, because it's your strong belief. It doesn't mean the other person is going to act and behave exactly the way you are. And yeah, so I was just thinking of those kind of things. And sometimes we just expect our life partner to be everything. We want them to be a mom. We want them to be our dad. We want them to be our best friend. We want them to be a doctor. And if they're not, oh my God, you are not looking after me. You are not giving me the medicine. You are not, or you're not supporting me. Yes, emotional support needs to be there, but sometimes we expect too much from the other person.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And just reflecting on all this, I could see myself before, and and it was making me laugh. And I'm like, wow, I was one of them. How would you say to our audience, give us some tips of what would be the best way of communicating?
I think it depends on the people. Again, there is no like one way. I've learned there is no one set of way of doing things. It's really whatever resonates with the couple, what works with them for them, what doesn't. It's you know, just knowing that you can be yourself and comfortable with whatever you decide works for you. So there isn't really a set way of doing it, but also like I think understanding yourself, because there are some people who are very good at verbalizing, you know, their emotions, and there are people that aren't. So just understanding your partner and understand that he may not he's not communicating, not because sometimes he just doesn't know how to, or he hasn't learned to communicate his emotions, and it may feel like they're distant or avoidant. But they're, again, it's just trying to understand the world, what is going on with them, and communicating that too. Like, hey, I'm the kind of person that likes to talk. Like, it makes me feel comfortable. It makes me feel heard and seen. And if the person says, well, I'm not a communicator, I just don't know how to express, especially men, they're not very good at you know, sitting and talking about their feelings. So just understanding that, and you know, to some people it's okay, to some people it's not okay. So it's really like, there isn't a set of rules like it has to be done this way or that way. It's really just being honest with yourself and with the other person, and feeling safe to talk about it. That's what I think. I think safety, because we all want to feel safe. We want to feel heard, validated, and we want to know that we matter to the other person, that our feelings matter. So it doesn't matter what feelings you have. We're all different. We all have, you know, we express our emotions or thoughts in different ways. But just being, you know, accepting one another for who we are, accepting ourselves for who we are, because we all have also insecurities, we have, you know, things. And I think what's really important is not criticizing the other person for who they are, especially if they're not exactly how you are. Like, we're all different. No one person is the same. So appreciate for the person for who they are, and trying to understand, like trying to empathize, you know, even though sometimes I don't understand, well, like, why does he think like this? Or why does he do this? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But being okay with that, like, okay, it doesn't have to make sense to me. I don't have to understand it, but accept him for who he is, and to try to work with it. And then just, you know, telling the person how I'm seeing it or how it's affecting me. And yeah. So it's, you know, what's interesting about relationships, it's not about us anymore. It's about we. And I think
Yes.
if we, you know, we work towards, it's, you know, especially if you're in a committed relationship, it's not about just you and your world and how you want things, and it's not about him, his world. It's really about our world and how our actions, our thoughts, our emotions is affecting this, you know, the kids, how affecting your relationship with each other, the families. So it's not just you and him too, it's also the families who's involved, the kids, the, you
Yeah.
know, the world. It becomes a we, it's not an I. And I think if we can balance that and be an open mind to understand one another, we should, like, people should overcome any struggles, and there will be struggles, and there will be uncertainties, and will be things we can't control, and you know, to me, commitment is working on it,
Yes.
constantly working towards, you know, our happiness, our, you know, our needs, our, you know, working
Yes.
through
Yes.
conflict. So there will be, you know, a lot of unrealistic switches. There will be no conflicts, I guess. One of them, there will be conflicts. There will be pain. There will be things that, you know, it's not a linear, you know, life is beautiful. We're going to be faced with things, you know, and you're just going to be together supporting one another.
Yes. Absolutely. 100% agree with everything you said, and so beautifully as well. It's like some people, you said some people don't know how to communicate. They've just not learned how to communicate. So it's having that patience with that person and just listening. So in the beginning, you had said it's listening, isn't it? Communicating is more about being open and ready to listen. A lot of time,
And
sorry.
learn, you know, because, like, you
Yeah,
know, a lot of people, they'll be like, I can't communicate, I haven't learned, and that's it. Well,
yeah.
you can always learn, you know. Are you willing to learn to communicate so you can meet the other person, so you can make them feel loved and heard and seen? What are you willing to do to work towards this relationship? And, you know, a lot of
Mm,
people aren't willing to do it. They don't want to. There's so much resistance, and the ego is saying, no, I don't want to do it, I don't care, you're the one, you know, it's your responsibility. So it's really, again, looking at yourself. What's my responsibility? How do I want to show up? How can I contribute to this relationship?
yes, yes, absolutely. It's about, yes, it's about acceptance, accepting each other, knowing that. So I always see relationship as where this person, or more than a person, now that I'm constantly learning as well, I see that this person is beautiful in his own way. So there's a soul. That soul has his own beauty, his own value. I am a soul. I have my own beauty, my own values. What we try to do, well, realistically, what a relationship should do is we need to allow each other to grow in our values. So whatever value the soul has, we have to allow that soul to grow in that value and become better, flourish, and become something beautiful, much more beautiful what they are. But instead, what we do in a relationship is we think that my values are the best values, and we want to dump all that on that person and say, no, you need to grow in this way. This is my way. And I know my way is the best way. This is how you need to grow. And we try to teach them, oh, I don't understand what's going on with you. This is how you need to do it. This is how you progress. Like, we think that we are trying to help them grow, and we like, this is how you need to achieve this. This is that. Oh my God, you make all these mistakes.
Yeah.
But
What
we don't
comes,
understand
yeah.
that
And the same
they
thing,
have to make mistakes.
yeah. And the same thing, I'm like, when you're talking, I'm thinking about, like, even when we, you know, with my kids, that's how, like, because, like, to me, relationships are pretty much the same thing across the board. But even with my relationship with my kids, I had certain expectations of what they need, how they need to do things, what they're, you know, how they're growing and whatever. And then when I started having conflicts because my expectations were different than their expectations, that's when I had to learn. What I mean by, you need to do the work yourself. Think something is not working, you know, educate yourself, read, you know,
Yes.
see a counselor, see a coach, see a therapist, whatever you need, because you care about your relationship with that person. And that's what I did when I started, you know, having conflicts with my kids. I started working, I started asking questions like, what am I doing you know, what can I do differently? And then I learned that a lot of the, you know, behavior that I was doing, it was very controlling, very, you know, I was very set in my ways, you know, had unrealistic expectations of them. So when I started working on myself and changing my behaviors and then understanding, you know, my fears, that's when things got better. It's because I took responsibility for my actions, for, you know, to look at my, you know, how I'm showing up in the relationship. And then, you know, now we have a great relationship. It's because I, you know, I worked on myself. I didn't judge them and point fingers as much as I kind of said, okay, like what's going on, you know, and then my changing and, you know, influence their behavior, their change, you know, and the same thing with the relationship. It's if something is not working out, you're not happy, look at yourself too. Like, how am I showing up? You know, what fears do I have? How can I communicate, you know, my fears? So again, I'm not saying it to take responsibility like it's your fault, but to be vigilant and aware of like all the dynamics, not just to
Yeah.
focused on what the other person is saying, or, you know, again,
Yeah.
finding that balance and not to judge, but to work towards, like, you know, what needs to be done to repair the relationship.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And I love the example you gave about your children, because yes, we're talking about romantic relationships, but that's across the board. Because once you start looking inwards, that's when you will realize that a lot of things was it's just little tweaks and little changes you had to make in yourselves, and the surrounding just changes. You didn't have to fight it, you didn't have to argue that bit. It just then unfolds. It happens. And like you said, it's about practicing what you expect. And what that means is that if you are expecting respect from the other person, you have to practice that respect as well constantly. If you're expecting this person to respect you, but then what you're doing is arguing with this person, have you respected this person? That's disrespectful. So it's practicing what you expect, isn't it? So when I was reflecting on this, I remembered of this thing when just a couple of weeks ago, my expectation of my husband was that he should be present for all our children's games, matches. Okay, there are times when I would, accept when he's too busy or something. And then it so happened that one day he couldn't make it for some reason. And I was like, in my mind, I was feeling, this is not fair. This is not done. We need to be there for our kids. We have to always, because this is the time that we spend with them. They will soon grow up, da 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 da, and all those, the inner voice going on. And then I had to pause for a bit, and I'm thinking, well, hold on a minute. What do you want here? That someone is there, or your presence is there for your child. And then I'm like, am I being present? No, in my mind I'm thinking that my husband's not present. Am I present? My body is, but my mind isn't. And that's when I had to just stop, and I'm like, okay, let me just do what I can do. I want my children to have presence. I want them to have love from their parents. I'm here. I'm going to give that instead of me. So it's like practicing exactly what you're expecting, because I wasn't practicing. In my mind, I'm thinking, oh my God, this man, he didn't come, he didn't show up. I was there in body, but my mind wasn't there. So it's tricky. It's tricky because you expect to start criticizing the other person, but then we forget that we are doing the same thing then.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's great awareness to have, to say like, yeah, how am I, am I really being present right now, or just, you know, judging, and, yeah,
Yes.
I love that.
Before we finish, Rula, are there any tools that you practice, or is there any tips you would like to give to our audience that they can practice to be maybe more aware, maybe more present, and what can they practice in terms of expectations?
Uh, there is, I don't know, again, there is no one thing that I would say. The only thing is, like in relationships, I think, for me, when there's pillars, I would say that, in relationships, and, I would say commitment is one, because if you want to be happy, you need to commit. Like, it's important to commit. And commitment, meaning being present and being aware and being involved, and it's not about the I, it's the we. So commitment is huge. And then communication, of course, and communication effectively, which means honesty, transparency, being trustworthy, respectful, like you said, honest. All these things are really important with communication. And the other one I would say is, like, I call it, like, the C's too, which is like the commitment, communication, and courage. Because sometimes we need that courage, to face our fears, and to work through
Yeah.
our fears, and to question them, and question our thoughts, and so I think courage plays big for me, into facing the uncertainty, to and then the other thing for me also is faith, because I rely on faith a lot. And because some things we can control, but others we can't. So being, again, patient, and trust the universe, trust the process. All of that comes with faith. And empathy is, like, probably the biggest thing, is putting yourself in someone else's shoe, and letting go of the egocentric self. um,
Mm.
so empathy, compassion, and empathy is huge in all, I think, in human interaction. And even compassion with yourself, and uh, how you show up, even with making mistakes, even with being vulnerable. It's compassion with self and others. Yeah, so these are, I would say, like, the pillars of having a good relationship. But I think empathy is big, because it's hard to be empathetic. It's
Yes.
not, it's challenging, I guess. And because, again, I think we're very egocentric. We're wired that way. We're wired to protect ourselves, to want to feel safe,
Oh,
and sometimes we do it subconsciously. We don't even realize that we're doing it. So be vigilant, and also learn about yourself through others, because people mirror to us who we are, and sometimes we don't want to see it. So when you feel triggered about something, um, look within, inquire, be
wow.
curious. Why did it hurt so bad? What is going on? What I need to heal? Question
Mm.
that.
Wow, I love that last part that you said, and I think that will be very valuable for our audience. If you've been triggered, look inwards, because every time you get triggered, that's just a signal, a sign that's asking you to learn about yourself and grow. Because every time you get triggered, if you're not acting on it, or you're not trying to learn about yourself and evolve and grow, you're going to be stuck in the same place, and you're going to be triggered again and again and again and again.
Until you
Yeah.
heal it. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Yes. Wow, that's beautiful. For me, before we end, almost there, for me, it's about I see every time I have an expectation, oh, I'm feeling something, because when you expect and it's not met, you're feeling something, you're not feeling well. That's when I always go, first thing is to go inwards, as you said. I always ask myself, why am I feeling this? What need is not met right now? Am I feeling so hurt, or and that's when I go inward. And then I have this affirmation, which I repeat to myself, and it's, I replace expectation with acceptance. And I always think of this. If expectation is coming to me, I always say, okay, now is the time, accept. So I have this affirmation where I even have it on my phone as a screen cover to remind me, I am a loving soul. When I go inward, I put my hand on my heart and I say, I am a loving soul. I accept you exactly the way you are. And I repeat that until all the expectation is gone. And then it's like acceptance of the other person. And the answer comes and the answer just flows. And I'm like, whoa, there was no need to expect.
I love that. I love that. Not only like, because every person I feel at the core, they are loved. So, and I love what you said because, accept them because, you're really seeing beyond the pain and their protective behaviors. You're seeing also their inner light and the love within their heart. I love that.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much for today, Roula. I think it's nearly time, so I think Instagram's going to kick us out as well of this live soon.
Thank
But
you
I
for having
really
me. I enjoyed
enjoyed.
it a lot. I enjoyed the conversation, and I hope it helped, some of the listeners. And if there's any
Yeah.
questions, they can feel free to like either DM me or DM you, and love to
Yes,
answer
guys.
any questions.
DM us. If as Roula said again, we are here as life coaches. We can help you see those triggers. We can help you see what's hurting, and we can help you make a way forward. Even if you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, we can be there to guide you with the light. We will be there. So guys, Rula is a relationship coach. DM her if you liked her little nuggets of wisdom that she has scattered around today. Please DM her, DM me, and we would love to be on this journey with you. And guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us. And even if you have any feedback for us, if there's any topics you want us to discuss, to bring to you, let us know, and we would love to do it for you guys.
Thanks again, Natasha. I love your lives, and what you do is awesome. You're very inspiring. I love your energy. Keep doing what you're doing, and
Thank
luck
you.
with everything.
Thank you. Same to you too. Good luck, Rula. And thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.